The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a fiduciary, fee-based financial planning firm serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is presented for information and entertainment only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed therein are not the opinion of Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Welcome to episode number 3 of the Fed15 podcast presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we'll discuss the latest news and info that feds need to know in 15 minutes or less. So whether you're a seasoned federal employee or just starting out in your career, Fed15 has got you covered. Now grab your coffee, kick back, and we'll tell you what you need to know but might have missed over the past week. We are your hosts, Dan Sipe and Caitlin Murray. Dan, how you feeling?
I'm feeling especially excited today, Caitlin. Would you like to know why?
I would love to know why.
Because it's starting to become that time of year again. From about the mid-year forward, we start getting more information of something that I think is pretty important to our feds and pretty important to us by turns, and that is pay raise.
Yes.
Okay. So we get closer and closer to it being real. And Caitlin, would you be surprised to know that our most recent article was visited and read over 25,000 times in the last 7 days?
I would not, because I know what it's about.
Absolutely. And that was our pay raise article.
Everybody loves a pay raise.
You're going to remember that for 2022, we got 4.6%, and that's good. And the tracking for the upcoming raise has actually kind of been on the books since 2016 with the first iteration of the FAIR Act. Now, Jerry Connolly, our good friend over in Virginia, great friend to feds, brought up this legislation, which it's going to attempt to cement the following pay raise and get it on the House floor and hopefully get it passed. This year's bill suggests, are you ready, Caitlin? 8.7%.
Wow.
Salary increase for 2024. I hope we get that. I really hope we get that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, typically, White House is going to recommend something lower.
Yep.
And I'm not picking on parties here, but just White House, whoever's in there is going to recommend something lower. And it looks like it's leaning towards 5.2%. After that, both chambers of Congress are going to have to pass a budget, which may or may not include that figure or another figure. However, if they don't mention it, pretty safe bet it's going to go with a 5.2. So thankfully right now, and again, I know I'm not supposed to break the fourth wall, time, space, but as of the time we're recording this, the Senate has just passed the debt ceiling. So that would not be part of the mix for this year. So that has gone past. So I know we're going to be hearing an awful lot from the union and FFE. Obviously, they have voiced support for these raises. And actually, the president issued a pretty impassioned video imploring feds to contact their members of Congress to persuade them to pass the 8.7. So feds, wherever you are, we're based in the DC area. That's the mothership. But we know we reach all 50 states. We reach the territories, and we reach you if you're overseas. So no kidding on this one. Hit your elected officials on this from whatever state you are, because otherwise it's always Jerry. And we know Jerry's going to be there. So let's help Jerry out. Okay. So if you're in Kentucky, if you're in Colorado, and I know you're in Colorado, we know you're there. You come to our webinars. California, you come to our webinars. So take the time, write that. It's important. We will always be your advocates. Okay. But I'm in Maryland. Okay. Caitlin's in Virginia. We're going to fold right in with Jerry with that. All of you that are in the other states, take that moment to do that because you deserve it. Okay. So please remember to do that. that's what I got on pay raise, Caitlin.
That's awesome. I think it's very interesting when civic engagement and reaching out to your legislators can actually be a smart financial planning move for you. I mean, it's sort of about all feds, but I mean, what did you say, 8.7?
8.7, yeah.
8.7 is a huge adjustment. So, I mean, over 5 is a huge adjustment, but 8.7 is pretty massive. So, yeah, definitely, as Dan said, reach out to your legislators. If you don't know exactly who your folks are, that's okay. You can find it on Dr. Google. So definitely do reach out to those folks. And by the way, everybody loves a pay raise, but I, as a financial planner, love planning for pay raises. So when you do get that step up, just like so many of our folks did last year, make sure that you have a plan for that. If you're not maxing out your TSP, think about doing that. Think about increasing that contribution. If you have, we talked about FEHB on our last episode, if you are in the high deductible health plan and you're not maxing out your HSA, try to do that. There are really smart places that you can put those funds. Obviously, some of it goes towards cost of living and the prices on things going up. But some of it could go towards some fun purchases, because I do think it's a good idea to have fun in the meantime. But we do want to try to put some of those acorns aside for
100%.
the future. So
and another way to do that, Caitlin, is Roth TSP.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're already maxing your TSP to the pre-tax option, consider switching some over to Roth. If all of this sounds somewhat complicated and you tend to get a little overwhelmed and we go into fight, flight, or freeze, and you like to live in freeze, many of us do, that's okay. Feel free to reach out. Talk with somebody, hop onto our blog, do some research. And we're also here, our team is here to kind of help folks noodle through that and figure out, I've got some debt that I need to pay down, but I also want to max out my TSP. Like, what's the best kind of strategy there? So we can help folks work through that on an individualized basis as well.
And Caitlin, you've got something to share too, don't you, for this week?
I do.
Okay.
So the other piece of kind of big news, I guess, this week is there is an intention that has been announced to modernize OPM. So the Office of Personnel Management. I don't know how many feds are aware of this. There was an incredible article published a while back now in 2014. Can you believe that was already 10 years ago, Dan? Almost. Crazy.
I mean, Caitlin, I go back to Stonehenge. So yes, I mean, it's not surprising to me that time moves fast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think COVID messed me up with time, because things that I think happened a year ago happened like 3 years ago. But anyway, there was a really good article that came out of the Washington Post in 2014 that was kind of an expose, or maybe not expose, but an investigation into how OPM processes retirement paperwork. So
up in the mountain.
Yeah. Yes. So many feds may not know, but when you apply for retirement, you fill out that big, huge packet with all that information on it, and you mail it off to an OPM facility. That is then trucked over to a place called Iron Mountain in Boyers, Pennsylvania, where, you go up to the side of the mountain, there's this huge, thick metal door. They go through the door, they deliver the paperwork, and it's these caverns, this cave system, literally a cave system, that's just full of our feds' retirement paperwork. So when you fill out your retirement paperwork and you send it in and you're waiting on your pension to start up, that's what's happening behind the scenes. Now, obviously, we are a modern country in the United States of America. The fact that we are still processing our own feds' retirement paperwork this way is kind of, something that we really should look at updating, because it does. Yeah, it does take quite a while to update. And this whole process has basically been unchanged since 1977. So they looked at it in the 80s, they looked at it again in the early 2000s, but the cost of digitizing just seemed astronomical. But it has been announced, I think recently it was announced that there is an intention to modernize this system. And basically what they're looking at doing, it's kind of a three-pronged approach. The current chief information officer of OPM, Guy Cavallo, has announced that he basically wants to shift things towards a cloud-based system, which would mean digital management. And it would basically be 3 stages. So there's an overall strategic plan, there's a strategy to move the data that's already in the system, and then there's an IT strategy that is going to be made public soon. Obviously, there's protecting against digital threats, identity theft, things like that. All of that goes into it. There's not a whole lot of substantial next steps forward that we've been made privy to, but we are very supportive of this attempt at modernization. We think that it will really improve the experience of our feds when they do put in their paperwork to retire. And kind of
it's going to shorten the time.
Yeah.
It's going to shorten the time. And if you read our article on it, you'll see we're actually, we've chewed into that backlog quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But let's give our folks up in Boyers the tools to do the work they're capable of doing at the speed they're capable of performing. So.
Exactly. Couldn't say it better myself. So fingers crossed that there will be more information on that. And yeah, we're definitely supportive of that effort.
100%. And I think that covers. I think that covers the two big things that we're hitting. Now, what are we talking about here? We're talking about our weekly survey. And folks, you can subscribe to that. Head over to our website, scwserve.com. You're going to get a pop-up right away that's going to give you the opportunity to do that. Go ahead and sign up for it because you're going to get our best. You're going to get the best of Ed Zerndorfer, the best of Jen Meyer, the best of Wes Battle, the best of Benefits Ben, best of Caitlin Murray. Sometimes I sneak in as a ghostwriter, and I'm not. That's why I put all them ahead because I'm not one of the best. But it's going to be coming to you. Bam, 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 bam. So you don't even have to go looking for it. So that's all the time we have today, folks. We will be back next week with more of the latest updates to keep you informed about your career and for your financial well-being as a Fed.
Definitely. And do be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you have not already. We post new episodes on our YouTube channel, FedLife. So make sure that you never miss an episode. Click that subscribe button if you're joining us on YouTube. We're also on Spotify. Exciting announcement. We are there as well. So you can definitely subscribe there and get latest episodes delivered to you through that app if that's your preferred listening. And please, please, please do remember to share the podcast with your friends and colleagues. I think Dan mentioned subscribing for the weekly survey, but for those who want to dive even deeper into learning about their federal benefits and financial planning for feds, I encourage you to join us for one of our complimentary webinars. Now we've got one coming up on FERS, so understanding your FERS pension and how all of that works, how all of that fits together. That'll be on June 6th. And then we also have tax planning with Ed Zerndorfer on June 8th. And we've got an FEHB webinar coming up on June 13th as well. But we hold webinars on all different topics, financial planning, estate planning, all the different pieces of your federal benefits. So definitely do consider joining us there. It's 100% free and no obligation. But if you do prefer a one-to-one approach, I definitely can understand that as well. Feel free to reach out to our team directly for a financial planning consultation if you're interested in that. The email address there is askstws@stwserve.com.
Indeed. The one thing I'll throw in, Caitlin, those three that you mentioned are part of our core series. Okay, so we're doing those every single month because of the demand. I mean, like I said, we have 25,000 people reading an article. So there's always a place for a deeper dive. That's why we're providing this. And there's no other place like it. So come on over, browse around. You're going to find a topic. And we've got plenty of time for you to do that.
Definitely. Come on in. The water's fine, right?
Indeed. So, hey, folks, thanks for listening to Fed15. I think, Caitlin, we actually kept it to 15 minutes this time.
We did.
I didn't get overly verbose.
We did.
So to say farewell, I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Caitlin Murray.
And we will see you next week. We're here for you.